Well, folks, it would appear that we have a Justice Department that uses the law enforcement authority of the United States to screw with people, to smear people, and to stop people from achieving end results when engaging in whistleblowing, if you might. When people are engaged in exposing the massive, out of control banking, savings and loan, and mortgage system in the United States. Folks, down in Houston, Texas, back in the early part of the 1980s, I began to expose a massive, gargantuan amount of land fraud and land speculation gaming, where vast amounts of money were being used in a real estate casino of speculation. The gargantuan, humongous, immense collapse of the savings and loans in the banks during the 1980s gold rush, if you will, of get rich quick in real estate is infamous on a global scale. Every major news media outlet in America and around the world is well aware of the fact that Texas was the epicenter of the savings and loan fiasco of the 1980s and again in the 90s, and of course it's still going on in the 2000s. This is a message for my friends on the West Coast, particularly this lawyer in this law firm that's being referred to as the Sledgehammer. The Sledgehammer and Renee Powers, Valerie Lopez, and some of the elements of the California 18, and particularly the United States Attorney's Office in Los Angeles and San Francisco, for starters, and up in Santa Barbara. The gargantuan nature of these real estate schemes is massively memorialized in Houston, Texas, in Harris County, and in Montgomery County, Texas. Now, for the benefit of President Donald Trump and the Attorney General of the United States, Mr. Sessions, along with the current director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, Mr. Christopher Wray, the real estate scheming and scamming of Rico Realty out of Harris and Montgomery County, Texas, was given the aid and the assistance of law enforcement to cover their tracks, to cover up for them. There's a current consultant, and she used to work for the FDIC. She was a white elephant property liquidator. She was a bank liquidation specialist. Her name, Catherine Wolford, who liquidated one of the banks that were at the center of a Senate Select Committee on Intelligence investigation, the Senate Intelligence Committee investigation of the Western Bank, and that little gang known as Triad International, Triad America, the Khashoggi money pipeline associated with Charlie Wilson's war and Iran-Contra. Now, there's a couple of people down there in Houston and in Conroe that are very well aware of the American Title Insurance Company. To be more specific, the American Continental Title Insurance Company, and the activities of the Western Bank, with a large number of real estate speculation investments all over Harris County, all over Lamar Terrace, all over the area in the vicinity of Lamar Terrace, and all over Montgomery and Harris counties. Nelda Luce of the Luce Real Estate Empire is currently officed in 1300 Main Street in Houston, Texas, in the old RLG building, the Rita Lababetti Group, and Westgate Investments mid-rise skyscraper in downtown Houston, 1300 Main Street. And then there's this other individual by the name of Jimmy Dozier. He was the Montgomery County attorney for a long time, and he went on to be the commandant, if you will, of the Texas Law Enforcement Association. Jimmy C. Dozier. District Attorney, former District Attorney, Peter C. Spears, and several Montgomery County and Harris County sheriffs, and many Conroe-based Montgomery County judges and Harris County judges. In particular, I'd like to name Alan Sadler of First Bank Conroe. Judge Sadler is a material witness to the real estate development scheming and scamming that rampant, just absolutely metastasized all over the state of Texas. This cancer of real estate speculation and fraud, and the crimes associated with gaming and draining and robbing and looting savings and loans and banks using speculative real estate investments. Some people have come to understand these scenarios as toxic zombie investments, or what I've rephrased to be toxic zombie colonius. The colonius scams are infamous in Texas. Colonius. There are literally millions of witnesses just to the colonius fiasco, including Laura Bush, including Jeb Bush, including Neil Bush, including Hillary Clinton, including Bill Clinton and their enforcement agencies of both the Bush and the Clinton administration. The FBI in Houston at 515 Rusk, and when they moved up to T.C. Jester on the Northwest 610 loop. This real estate-based massive robbery of the banking system in the United States is no longer a secret, folks. Everybody in the world, from Ireland to Australia to Iceland to Spain to Germany to Turkey to Italy, all over the world. England has been hit very hard with these real estate speculation schemes. Now, to get a little bit more, focused here, I want to talk about the Western banks of the Westgate investment gang out of London and out of Zurich and out of the Zug, Switzerland. They also operate in Dubai, and they operate throughout the Middle East and many other places around the world, including Monaco on the French Riviera, where they have mansions. These people have amassed so much money, so many billions, from engaging in real estate speculations. It's staggering, the assets that they've offshored. Triad International, Triad America, and the Adnan Khashoggi interests of AK Nevada, AK Florida, AK Utah, AK Hawaii, all over this nation. Adnan Khashoggi's bankster gangsters used a offshoring practice to launder the money through banks in the Cayman Islands, Singapore, London, Zug, Switzerland, Zurich, Switzerland, all over the world. The money has been hurriedly removed from the United States and moved offshore and overseas. To Renee Powers and to the Sledgehammer and to some of the other proponents that are witnessing this witch hunt, this attempt to remove a sitting U.S. president, this attempt to prevent a presidential candidate from winning a national election that is quickly becoming evident across the world, which Jim Comey and Robert Mueller and Loretta Lynch and Eric Holder and a number of other people from the U.S. Justice Department and FBI. It's not just this Stoltz fella. It's not just this guy, I guess his name is Stotz or Stoltz. It's not just him. And it's not just these unbelievable activities that have been employed to prevent Donald Trump from winning a U.S. presidential election. Donald Trump is not the only person that has been targeted for neutralization through character assassination. They did it to me, folks. They did it to me, and they painted my father, actually, as a communist at Harris Bay on Lake George, New York, back in the 1960s. They painted 20-foot tall pink letters in front of my parents' marina, P-R-O. And then they went to work on robbing my parents for everything they'd built. You see, my father was a returned World War II veteran, and he wasn't putting up with the corruption in New York State. So they character assassinated and targeted my parents and stole everything that they ever built. 600 acres and the East Shores Harbor Marina at Harris Bay on Lake George. And we're working on that right now. But my friends that are in this effort to expose this massive crime scene in America, and it's a massive crime scene. And Jeff Sessions, you can recuse yourself all you want. But when you get down to the bottom of what went down in the Iran-Contra and what went down in the Charlie Wilson's War in Harris County, all around the Galleria Mall and the Houstonian Estates, and George Bush Sr. and George Bush Jr. can not like it all they want to. Huge amounts of money being offshored and laundered and used in secret warfare operations. Black op clandestine wars in violation of the Boland Amendment. I'm not making any of this stuff up. You can verify it on any search engine in the world. Triad International, Adnan Khashoggi, Ghebbanifar, the Bin Ladens, Robert Owens, McFarland, Bud McFarland, Michael Atkinson, Richard Secord and all of his money interests around the world, Oliver North, all around the Galleria, where the Western Bank was right on the Galleria corner, right next to the Galleria, with Mainland Savings, First City Bank, Texas Commerce Bank, that whole gang swirling around George Mishner and Pete Bruton's book, The Mafia, the CIA, and George Bush, and Adnan Khashoggi and Ghebbanifar and Herman K. Beebe and William Webster. Come on down, William Webster, and bring Cat Wolford with you. Catherine Wolford, you're a material witness, so keep your records. Catherine Wolford, and I want to mention somebody here. Her name's K.C. Tuckness. She works for an interesting private investigations firm, Cisneros Private Investigations, somewhere there in West Texas. The Southwest Depot